You didn't land here by mistake. This moment, right now, is not just another digital blip in your day. It's not just another piece of content in your feed. Something deeper is happening. Something many people can't quite describe, but absolutely feel. There's an unmistakable pull, a vibration, a ripple through reality. And you're feeling it, because if you're seeing this, you're already in a quantum shift. Let's be clear. This is not just a metaphor. It's not a figure of speech. This is an actual shift, a transformation in how reality operates around you. More specifically, in how you interact with reality itself. Everything you've ever believed about time, space, identity, and consciousness has been shaped by a system built on linearity and predictability. But that system is showing cracks. You've probably noticed them. Strange synchronicities, changes in perception, patterns in your environment that don't logically fit, sudden insights that come out of nowhere, feelings that you're no longer the same person you were even yesterday. These aren't random occurrences. They are the early signs of a very real and very profound shift in your energetic and perceptual reality. This video is going to show you exactly what's going on beneath the surface. We're talking about quantum resonance, timeline fluidity, dimensional awareness, and a kind of consciousness expansion that goes far beyond any personal development tip or spiritual buzzword you've come across. You are becoming more than who you thought you were, because you were never just that person to begin with. In the coming minutes, we'll explore how quantum physics, metaphysical awareness, and energetic truths are all pointing to the same conclusion: that you're no longer operating under the same rules of reality that once governed your life. The rules have changed, and the shift isn't coming. It's here. Through this video, you'll gain clarity on why things feel different, why reality is behaving in new ways, and how your consciousness is reprogramming the field around you. We'll unpack what this means for your timeline, your thoughts, your emotional experiences, and even your relationship with time itself. You'll understand the science behind these experiences. You'll see why so many are awakening at once. You'll learn how to recognize the illusions that no longer serve you and step into the version of reality that's aligned with your higher frequency. But more importantly, this isn't about escaping anything. It's not about running from the current world. It's about reclaiming your place as a conscious participant in it. Not just surviving this shift, but understanding it, mastering it, and moving through it with full awareness. If you've been sensing that something enormous is unfolding, and you're not crazy for thinking that, then this is your confirmation. You're not just witnessing the change. You are the change. You're participating in a quantum-level transformation of what it means to be human. So take a deep breath, settle in, and allow yourself to receive what's already unfolding. Let's begin. Why did this video find you at this exact moment? Not an hour ago, not last week, not next year. Now, because the universe doesn't deliver these moments on accident. It responds to resonance. There's a frequency you've started to emit, subtle but powerful. It's not always conscious at first. It often begins with a feeling of restlessness, an urge to find deeper truth, or a growing dissatisfaction with the surface-level answers you've been handed. These aren't coincidences. They're cues. The shift begins the moment you start tuning into those cues. Right now, your consciousness is starting to pull you toward content, information, and ideas that match a new energetic blueprint. You're no longer attracted to distractions. You're seeking alignment. The fact that you're watching this is the first indicator that you're resonating with a frequency designed to awaken something far more expansive within you. Let's talk about synchronicity, because this is one of the first signs that your reality is responding differently to your awareness. Patterns emerge. Numbers repeat. People show up unexpectedly, but precisely when you need them. You think of a question, and the answer arrives through a book, a stranger's comment, or even a line in a song. This is not passive coincidence. This is resonance made visible. Synchronicities are signals from the quantum field, a reflection of your inner frequency aligning with external reality. And it goes deeper. There's a concept in quantum physics called entanglement. Two particles, once connected, can influence each other instantly, even when separated by vast distances. The implications go beyond subatomic particles. What if thoughts, emotions, and consciousness itself also function on this principle? When you begin awakening, your inner field starts to entangle with a larger intelligence, one that is constantly guiding you toward expansion. This is how the signal works. Calls you toward alignment. It nudges you out of artificial timelines. It reroutes your path, not with force, but with a magnetic pull that grows stronger the more you listen. And here's the kicker: your attention is the gateway. Not your beliefs, not your credentials, your attention. When you place your attention on something, you give it energetic momentum. This is how the shift becomes visible. What you notice becomes more frequent. What you question begins to reveal its answers. What you sense internally starts to shape what happens externally. And soon, the signal is not just showing up in videos, it's showing up in your life. You may notice an increase in awareness. You're not just living your life, you're watching yourself live it. You catch your thoughts midstream. You begin sensing people's energy before they speak. You predict events before they happen, not in vague impressions, but in precise, startling ways. This is not imagination. This is expanded perception. Because here's the truth. Reality doesn't present itself as it is. Presents itself as you are. The signal you've received is a reflection of the frequency you're transmitting. So when you feel drawn to messages like this, when you're pulled toward a deeper layer of meaning in your day, it's because your consciousness is already communicating with the field. You've tuned into something beyond the surface, something that recognizes you. And yet, this isn't just about awareness. It's about participation. You're not here to passively observe a quantum shift. You're here to shape it. By becoming aware of the signal, you begin working with it. You start making new choices. You stop reacting to old patterns. You align with new trajectories, ones that might have seemed impossible before. This changes everything. Your relationships, your goals, your sense of time, your emotional state, they all begin responding to your upgraded awareness. And the more you trust that signal, the more you follow those aligned nudges, the faster the shift becomes visible. This isn't a theory. It's not an abstract idea. You're living it. You're noticing it. You're watching reality reflect it. And now, as you continue to pay attention, that signal becomes louder. More synchronicities, deeper knowing, sharper intuition, increased clarity. The veil gets thinner between the world you've always known and the one that's always existed beneath it. The signal you didn't know you were waiting for has arrived. And now that you've received it, everything accelerates. Next, we will examine a major symptom of the shift: the cracking of time itself. If you've noticed strange loops, distortions, or warps in your perception of time, you're not imagining things. Something profound is happening, and you're already in it. Ever feel like time is speeding up, slowing down, or looping? Something is wrong with time. At least that's what it feels like. It's not just a matter of being busy. This isn't burnout or too many tasks piling up. This is different. This is the sensation that the very structure of time itself is starting to fall apart. You wake up and feel like a day has passed. But it's only been a few hours. A week slips by and feels like a dream. Memories feel scattered. Events that should feel recent seem far away. Some moments stretch forever while others vanish in a blink. It's disorienting, and you're not alone in noticing it. More and more people are reporting these experiences, and they aren't random. They're signs that your perception of time is shifting because your consciousness is stepping out of the linear model. You're beginning to perceive what has always been there, hidden behind the illusion of sequence and duration. Nonlinear time. Let's get to the root of it. We've been taught that time is a straight line. Past, present, future. One thing after another. Cause and effect, action and result. It's a comforting structure. But it's not how time actually functions at the quantum level. At that level, time behaves more like a field than a track. Everything exists at once. Potentialities, decisions, memories, they're not locked in. They float in a vast energetic grid, accessible from different angles depending on your vibrational state. And your consciousness is no longer bound to the old linear stream. You're starting to access parallel points in the time field. That's why you sometimes feel like you're remembering the future. That's why déjà vu strikes with such eerie precision. That's why dreams are becoming clearer, sometimes even prophetic. Because you're touching aspects of the time field your conscious mind isn't trained to process. This shift often begins subtly. You'll notice inconsistencies in memory. You'll misremember events with absolute certainty, only to find no one else recalls them the same way. You'll start seeing the Mandela effect in your own life. Small but undeniable mismatches between what you remember and what appears to have happened. That's not memory failure. That's timeline variation. You've likely stepped into adjacent timelines without realizing it. Your energetic frequency aligned with a new path, and the shift occurred so seamlessly that only fragments remain. Your mind tries to piece them together, but time, in this new context, isn't something that moves forward, it's something you navigate. You're no longer riding the current. You're steering the ship. And this navigation happens not through logic or effort, but through frequency. Your emotional state, your focus, your intention, these are your tools now. They determine which version of time you enter. This is why healing your past suddenly changes how you feel about your present. Why inner clarity can alter how events unfold. Because your experience of time mirrors your vibrational alignment, not your calendar. And then there are the loops. You may feel like certain experiences keep repeating, like you're stuck in an emotional or situational cycle. That's not failure. It's not stagnation. It's your consciousness revisiting a pattern to make a different energetic choice. It's a loop, yes, but it's also an invitation. And the moment you choose differently, with full awareness, the pattern breaks. The loop dissolves. A new timeline activates. The sense of distortion you feel when time speeds up or slows down. That's real. Time is not fixed. Your perception of time stretches and compresses based on presence and resonance. When you're fully engaged, deeply aligned, time flows effortlessly. When you're resisting or operating from fear, time constricts or becomes chaotic. And when you're in an elevated state, whether through joy, love, deep focus, or spiritual connection, you may feel like time barely exists at all. Because in those moments, you're accessing the present moment so completely that the past and future dissolve. That's not just poetic language. That's a state of quantum coherence. So if your clocks feel broken, your memories feel unstable, and your sense of the future seems strangely fluid, trust that. You're not unraveling. You're perceiving more. You're beginning to interact with time as a conscious being, not just a passenger. Time is cracking not because reality is falling apart, but because your perception is expanding. And what was once held in a single direction is now being revealed as multidimensional. Next, we will look at the bizarre emotional, physical, and energetic symptoms that often follow this shift. They may seem random, but each one is evidence that you are undergoing a very real internal upgrade. These bizarre experiences aren't random. They're evidence you're upgrading. Suddenly, your body feels different. Your thoughts feel sharper, or maybe more scattered. One moment you're inspired beyond anything you've ever known. The next, you're exhausted for no reason. You're riding emotional waves you can't explain. You feel things around you more intensely than ever before, and nothing seems to fit like it used to. You're not going crazy. These are symptoms of a quantum awakening, and they are far more common than most realize. A quantum awakening isn't a one-time event. It's not a flash of insight followed by clarity forever. It's a rewiring process, and your entire system, mental, emotional, energetic, and physical, feels it. You're not just learning new ideas. You're becoming a different vibrational being. Let's start with the emotional shifts. Sudden mood swings, waves of sadness or euphoria without a clear trigger, old traumas surfacing, moments of unexplained compassion, or intense frustration. These are not just emotions. They're energetic releases. You're clearing dense frequencies stored in your field. You're rebalancing. You're making room for the higher vibration to stabilize. And sometimes that means letting old wounds echo one last time before they leave for good. Now, the mental signs. Your focus may fluctuate. Old interests suddenly feel lifeless. New subjects captivate you, even if they make no logical sense. You may question everything, from your beliefs to your relationships to your career. This is the mind adjusting to a broader bandwidth of truth. It's no longer satisfied with surface information. It's reaching for coherence, meaning, and alignment. And then there's intuition. You're receiving downloads, inner knowing, visions, inner voices guiding you, not randomly, but when you're quiet enough to notice. The gut feelings are stronger. The dreams are vivid, symbolic, sometimes prophetic. You're no longer processing data only through the brain. You're tuning into a larger energetic network and interpreting reality with more than just logic. Energetically, the changes can be intense. Heightened sensitivity to sound, light, and even people's emotions. Sudden bursts of energy, or complete fatigue. Tingling sensations. Pressure on the forehead or crown of the head. Vibration in your spine or hands. These aren't malfunctions. They are adjustments. Your energy body, your subtle field, is expanding and recalibrating. Your chakras, meridians, and subtle circuits are activating in new ways. And yes, your physical body gets involved. You might experience digestive shifts, sleep disruptions, weird aches that come and go, food preferences changing, increased thirst, skin sensitivity. These are all responses to the influx of light or higher frequencies you're now holding. Your body is the interface, just trying to catch up with your spirit. But here's the important part. These symptoms are not punishments. They are signals. They tell you that your internal system is adapting to a new level of awareness. And once the new baseline stabilizes, everything begins to make sense. You'll feel more clarity, more alignment, more joy, more peace even in chaos. But the pathway there often involves discomfort, because real evolution isn't comfortable. It's expansive, and expansion stretches everything. So how do you move through it? With awareness, with rest, with intention, and by listening. Don't force your body to perform at its old pace. Don't ignore your emotional signals. Don't reject the intuition just because it seems illogical. This is a new operating system. You don't heal it by overriding it. You support it by cooperating with it. Eventually, the symptoms ease, the strange feelings stabilize, and the extraordinary becomes your new normal. Next, we will explore the actual mechanism behind this transformation. You'll discover how reality is not what you were told, and how this shift is reshaping the very fabric of your existence from the inside out. Reality doesn't work the way you were taught. Here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. You were told that reality is stable, predictable, governed by fixed rules and unchangeable truths. But that narrative no longer fits your experience. It doesn't explain the synchronicities, the energy changes, the timeline oddities, or the sudden sense that something unseen is shaping everything around you. What you're going through isn't a glitch. It's a shift, a quantum shift. This is not an abstract idea. It's not a metaphor. It's a real, measurable transition in how your consciousness interacts with the energy field around you, and how that interaction is reshaping your lived experience in real time. So let's bring clarity to this concept. At its core, a quantum shift is a transition from one vibrational reality state to another. It happens not just intellectually, but energetically. It's when your core frequency becomes incompatible with old timelines and begins syncing with new ones that operate under entirely different laws. This isn't about belief. It's about resonance. Quantum physics already supports this. The observer effect shows that the act of observation changes the behavior of particles. At the smallest level of existence, reality isn't solid. There's probability, possibility. Everything is energy until attention is applied. Then energy collapses into a physical event. This means that what you call reality is not fixed until you engage with it. You are not separate from it. You're participating in its creation. The shift happens when you stop unconsciously participating and start consciously choosing. Your thoughts, emotions, and energetic state begin to carry more influence, not just in how you feel, but in how events unfold. You start noticing that your inner world is mirrored in your outer world. Your fears manifest. Your desires appear. Time bends to your mood. People respond to your unspoken state. That's the shift at work. You are no longer reacting to the world, you are shaping it. The architecture of your life is being generated in real time by the frequency you hold. That frequency is made up of many things, your thoughts, yes, but also your emotions, your beliefs, your subconscious patterns, and your level of awareness. As these elements change, so does your reality. This is why the shift feels chaotic at first. The structures built on your old vibration begin to collapse. That relationship, that job, that identity, they all start to feel incompatible. Because they were built in a timeline you're no longer anchored to. This is when it gets disorienting. You may feel like you're living in two worlds. The old one, crumbling but familiar, and the new one, unknown but pulling you forward. That tension, that strange in-between, it's the shift. And your job isn't to figure it out intellectually. It's to align with the energy that feels most authentic to you, without needing to justify it. That's when the shift speeds up. You begin to notice repeating themes, opportunities that mirror your intentions, people showing up to guide you, teach you, or test your readiness. This isn't coincidence. This is the quantum field responding to your upgraded signal. The quantum field doesn't care what you say you want. It responds to what you actually resonate with. If you want clarity but carry confusion, you get mixed results. If you want abundance but vibrate in fear, you meet lack. When the shift deepens, you realize that changing your frequency is the key, not chasing new outcomes. Your experience is a result of what you hold, not what you pursue. Another core element of this shift is the activation of multidimensional perception. You begin to see beyond the physical, not with your eyes but with your awareness. You sense timelines. You feel energetic imprints. You experience layers of reality that coexist with this one. This doesn't mean hallucination. It means expanded access. Your field opens. Your perception widens. You tune into realms most people filter out. This doesn't make you special. It makes you responsible. Because once you can feel what's truly happening behind the scenes, you can no longer pretend the surface is the full story. You begin living with intentionality, with clarity, with power. And that power is subtle. It's quiet. It doesn't need force. It aligns. This is what the quantum shift is all about. It's the return of awareness. It's the remembrance that your consciousness is the axis around which your reality turns. And once you stop outsourcing your power, once you take that truth seriously, you no longer need to fix the world. You simply upgrade your vibration. And the world rearranges. Next, we will explore why this awakening is happening globally. Millions are going through it at the same time, and that's no coincidence. There is a larger intelligence behind this timing, and you're part of something much bigger than personal evolution. Why are millions around the world waking up at the same time? You're starting to see the signs, but so are others. You're having the dreams, so are they. You're feeling the disconnection from old systems, the magnetic pull toward truth, the pressure to let go of what doesn't serve. And you're noticing that you're not the only one. This is not an isolated awakening. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's happening everywhere. A collective shift in consciousness is underway. And you are not separate from it, you are an integral part of it. All around the planet, people are beginning to question what they were taught to accept without resistance. Institutions are being challenged. Hierarchies are being questioned. The structure of power, belief, identity, and even time itself is being exposed. And beneath all that unraveling, something extraordinary is happening. Humanity is waking up. But this awakening doesn't look like fireworks and fanfare. It looks like internal struggle, emotional intensity, sudden clarity followed by deep confusion. It looks like relationships ending, callings emerging, truths surfacing. For many, it feels like falling apart. But what's really happening is recalibration. Consciousness is rising across the board. From the individual to the collective, frequency is shifting. And as that shift happens, more people begin to notice patterns they used to ignore. The lies that once seemed normal feel unbearable. The emptiness in certain achievements becomes undeniable. The urge to reconnect with something deeper becomes overwhelming. It's not just personal evolution. It's a shared elevation of frequency. This is why so many are experiencing the same symptoms. not just in one country or one culture. Across borders, languages, and belief systems, the symptoms of awakening, emotional intensity, energetic sensitivity, questioning reality, are showing up everywhere. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. We're linked through the collective field. Every human being contributes to the frequency of that field. When enough people raise their vibration, the field tips. It becomes easier for others to rise too. Like water finding its level, consciousness seeks equilibrium. As more awaken, the process accelerates for everyone else. And it's happening fast. Technology has made the global mind more connected than ever. Ideas spread instantly. Energy moves rapidly. And those who are ready find each other with uncanny timing. That's not just algorithms at work. That's magnetic resonance through the collective field. But the awakening isn't just about unity. It's also about contrast. Because as the light rises, the shadows get louder. The systems that thrived in unconsciousness begin to panic. Old paradigms resist change. Fear-based narratives intensify. That's not a sign of failure. That's a natural purge. The dark must surface before it can clear. Your job in this collective shift is not to fix everyone. It's not to wake others up by force. Your job is to embody your own clarity, to hold your frequency with integrity, to be an anchor for those still navigating the storm. The more you embody the shift, the more stable the collective becomes. This is how revolution becomes evolution, not through violence or force, but through the quiet power of awakened individuals refusing to return to sleep. So when you feel overwhelmed by the weight of the world, remember this: you are not alone. You are not powerless. You are not small. You are part of a wave of consciousness that is reshaping the future in real time. A shift that is not just about survival but transcendence. A movement that doesn't scream, but resonates. A revolution that begins in frequency and ends in form. Next, we will uncover the invisible system that kept you asleep for so long, and show you how to break free from the illusions that were designed to suppress your potential. What if the limitations in your life are illusions designed to keep you asleep? You've followed the rules, checked the boxes, met the expectations, but something inside of you keeps whispering that this isn't it. That there's more than just bills, routines, and fitting into structures that never felt quite right. And that whisper is not just a voice, it's a signal, a truth that's starting to fracture the artificial system you were born into. A system designed not to liberate but to contain. Welcome to the matrix of limitation. This matrix isn't made of machines or metal. It's made of beliefs, programs, psychological barriers that were installed long before you had the power to question them. Ideas like, you are separate from others. Reality is fixed. Power comes from outside you. Your value must be earned. These weren't just taught, they were embedded. From early education to media narratives to cultural norms, the same idea is pushed. Be productive, obey authority, stay realistic, conform. Step outside those lines, and you're labeled difficult, unrealistic, even dangerous. But that discomfort you feel when following the script? That's your awakening energy trying to break through the mental firewall. The matrix isn't just external. It lives inside the subconscious. Tells you who you are, what's possible, and where the line is. But here's the truth. That line was never real. The boundary is made of agreement. And the moment you stop agreeing, it begins to dissolve. But first, you have to see it. Start with your beliefs. Look at the limits you've accepted as fact. I'm not creative. I'm too late. I'm stuck. Every one of these ideas isn't truth. It's programming. And if you never challenge them, they run the show from the background, blocking opportunity, restricting joy, and caging possibility. That's the genius of the matrix. It convinces you that the prison is natural. You normalize anxiety. You justify struggle. You make excuses for the system because it's familiar. But familiarity is not the same as freedom. And waking up means asking the most dangerous question of all. Who benefits from me believing this? Because once you see that your fear is useful to someone else, the game changes. This is not conspiracy, it's energetic economy. When people live in fear, they become dependent. When they feel unworthy, they seek approval. When they feel powerless, they surrender autonomy. Every one of these emotional states creates an energy imbalance that feeds the structure. Breaking free doesn't start with rebellion. It starts with awareness. You don't need to destroy the system. You need to unplug from it energetically. That means becoming sovereign in your perception, observing your thoughts instead of obeying them, questioning your impulses instead of reacting to them, choosing response over reaction. One of the most effective tools the Matrix uses is identity. It convinces you to define yourself by your job, your background, your gender, your politics. Labels, boxes, categories that seem empowering at first, but eventually become prisons. True awakening means remembering that none of these are you. They are expressions, not definitions. The moment you cling to a label as truth, you shrink. You are not here to fit into a system. You are here to remember that you are the system, consciousness creating experience. So how do you begin breaking free? First, observe your patterns. Notice the habits, thoughts, and choices that keep you in loops. Not with judgment, but with precision. Awareness dissolves illusion faster than resistance ever could. Second, question your emotional attachments. Why do you fear success? Why does freedom feel unsafe? What benefit are you unconsciously getting from staying small? This level of inquiry uncovers the false structures built inside your emotional body. Third, stop outsourcing authority. No one knows your truth better than you. Not gurus, not institutions, not traditions. Discernment is your new compass. Learn to trust it. And finally, reclaim your power by honoring your frequency. Your energy is the new currency. Protect it. Direct it. Choose where it flows. Every moment you spend focused on fear, shame, or unworthiness is a moment of energetic leakage. Seal the leaks and you raise your vibration automatically. As you unplug from the matrix, the external world begins to respond differently. Doors open. Timelines shift. The resistance fades, not because the world changed, but because your perception did. You're no longer fighting the illusion. You're walking through it. And on the other side, possibility without permission, power without domination, love without condition, purpose without pressure. Next, we will explore the real engine behind this new alignment, the power of presence, and how each moment is actually a portal to timelines you never knew you could access. This moment contains infinite timelines. Are you choosing consciously? Right now, you're standing at a threshold, not metaphorically, literally. Because this moment, this exact breath, is more than just a tick on the clock. It's a nexus point, portal, a multidimensional intersection where infinite versions of your future are waiting. And the version you step into? It depends entirely on your awareness right now. Presence is not passive. It's powerful. It is the most overlooked tool in consciousness. People chase alignment through endless actions, rituals, manifestation tricks, obsessive goal setting. But none of that matters if you're not present. Because presence is what calibrates your signal. It is the only state in which real creation happens. When you're fully present, you are in total coherence. No split attention. No past regrets. No future anxiety. Just full vibrational alignment with the now. And when you're aligned with the now, your frequency is pure. And pure frequency generates clear timelines. Timelines are not chosen through force. They are attracted through resonance. You can't muscle your way into a better life. You vibrate your way into it. And the only place vibration happens is in the now. This is why people who are calm, clear, and self-aware seem to experience more flow. They're not lucky. They're tuned in. And tuning in isn't about escaping thought. It's about owning it. True presence means watching your thoughts without letting them hijack your experience. Feeling your emotions without being consumed by them. Sensing the energy around you without reacting unconsciously. Presence is the practice of being undistracted by illusion. This is how new timelines activate. Let's break this down. Every thought you think, every choice you make, every state you hold, it all feeds a timeline. The more consistent the state, the more momentum the timeline gathers. So if you're constantly reacting to fear, you strengthen the timeline where fear continues to show up. But if you return to presence again and again, you interrupt the momentum. You create a window, and through that window you can select a new outcome. One of the most powerful ways to shift timelines is through conscious decision. Not forced action. Aligned decision. A decision made from presence carries the full energy of who you are right now. That decision creates an energetic rupture, cutting ties to the past and initiating a new path. This is why major life changes often feel like collapse before they feel like freedom. The old timeline resists your exit, but your decision, made from full awareness, overrides it. The trick is to not abandon the moment during the turbulence. When things get uncomfortable, most people retreat into fear, distraction, or blame. But the ones who stay present fully through the discomfort, they accelerate timeline convergence. They collapse delays. They skip steps. Because they're no longer dragging baggage between timelines. Presence isn't neutral. It's alchemical. It transmutes chaos into clarity. It turns confusion into direction. It reveals truths that were invisible when you were distracted. In presence, you meet your highest self. Not in theory, but in vibration. And that vibration is the key. When you remain present long enough, you begin to feel your way forward. Logic fades. Intuition rises. You sense what aligns before words can explain it. You act from knowing instead of fear. You trust the path not because it makes sense, but because it resonates. Presence gives you access to the timelines that match your truth, not your history. So if you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or lost, pause. Come back to this moment. Don't push. Don't analyze. Feel. Watch. Breathe. That shift in attention is not small. It is the moment everything begins to change. Because once you're present, you stop reacting to timelines that aren't meant for you. You stop fueling versions of your life that drain you. You become selective, not through judgment, but through frequency. And the moment you stop chasing and start aligning, the timelines start bending in your favor. Next, we will explore the secret weapon of this reality-shifting process, the power of imagination, and how your inner visions are far more than mental play. They are blueprints for timelines waiting to crystallize. If you can imagine it clearly, you might already be living it in another reality. Most people treat imagination as a tool for fantasy, a place for daydreams, a mental playground with no real-world consequence. But in the realm of consciousness and quantum potential, imagination is not something trivial. It's a gateway. It is one of the most powerful mechanisms you have to access alternate timelines and begin constructing new versions of reality before they manifest physically. Every future you will ever experience begins first as an inner image, an internal resonance. If you can hold that vision long enough without contradiction, it begins to pull matter into alignment. Your imagination is not fiction. It's frequency. Think about what happens when you picture a future moment. Not just a random image, but a vivid, emotionally charged vision. Something that feels real, tangible, alive. Your heart rate changes. Your brain chemistry shifts. You feel energy move through your body. That response is not symbolic. It is vibrationally significant. You are activating a signal. That signal doesn't stay inside you. It radiates into the quantum field. And in that field, everything responds to vibration. You are constantly broadcasting through thought and emotion, whether you know it or not. Imagination simply makes the broadcast intentional. It refines the message. It codes your desires into language the field understands. When used consciously, imagination is not escape, it's alignment. But here's where most people get it wrong. They imagine what they want, but immediately cancel it with doubt, fear, or overthinking. They send a signal, then scramble it. The field doesn't reject your vision. It mirrors your contradiction. This is why emotional coherence matters more than mental clarity. You don't manifest what you think. You manifest what you emotionally integrate. That means your imagination must go beyond visual fantasy. It must be felt, lived, trusted. Not because you're trying to force reality, but because you're choosing to sync with a version that already exists. In quantum terms, Every possible outcome already exists as a probability wave. What collapses that wave into reality is not effort, it's observation and resonance. When you consistently imagine a version of your life, feel it, believe it, and remove resistance to it, you collapse that wave into your timeline. And the more precise your imagination, the faster the collapse. This is why vague hoping doesn't work. Hoping lacks structure. But focused imagination, done with feeling and repetition, becomes a construction tool. You start laying the energetic foundation for your future experience. The emotions you feel in those imagined states are not pretend. They're previews, and they draw matching people, events, and decisions into your path. This is not mystical fluff. It's energetic architecture. Just like architects create blueprints before building a structure, your consciousness creates vibrational blueprints through imagination. And the clearer the blueprint, the easier it is for your reality to form around it. But clarity doesn't mean obsessing over details. It means feeling the frequency of the life you want and learning to rest in it without anxiety. It means building emotional fluency with your future self. Letting that version of you become familiar, natural, inevitable, not through wishful thinking, but through practiced energetic recognition. The shift happens when your imagined reality feels more real than your current one. This is not delusion, it's alignment, and the quantum field responds not to what's real or fake, but to what's dominant in your vibration. The more consistently you live in the energy of your desired outcome, the more physical your connection to that outcome becomes. There's also a secret use of imagination most overlook: using it for healing. You can reimagine the past. Not to change history, but to update the emotional pattern attached to it. When you revisit a memory and see it differently, when you view it with compassion, or forgiveness or empowerment, you change your current frequency. And by changing your current frequency, you change the trajectory of your future. This is why inner child work, future self-visualization, and timeline revision all work. They rewire your resonance. Your nervous system responds to imagined input. Your energy field responds to emotional belief. And the moment both sync, reality starts rearranging. So how do you use imagination consciously? Start small. Choose a simple vision that excites you. Close your eyes. See it. Feel it. Breathe into it. Then do it again tomorrow. Then again the next day. Don't chase results. Chase resonance. Over time, the signal strengthens. You start receiving new ideas. You notice new opportunities. You respond differently to old triggers. And before long, the external begins matching the internal. The more natural your imagined state becomes, the more unnatural your current limitations begin to feel. That's how you know the shift is real. Your reality begins feeling outdated, not because you hate it, but because something higher is calling you forward. You're not pretending. You're remembering. The version of you that lives that vision already exists. In quantum terms, it's just a matter of tuning your consciousness to the frequency where that version is dominant. Imagination is the dial. Emotion is the amplifier. Repetition is the lock-in. Next, we will bridge these ideas with the latest insights from physics, exploring how the science behind the observer effect and particle behavior validates what mystics have always known about the creative power of consciousness. What do physicists and mystics agree on? Reality is far stranger than fiction. It sounds unbelievable until you realize science has been pointing to this truth all along. For years, mystics, seers, and spiritual teachers have spoken about the nature of reality being fluid, responsive, and shaped by consciousness. And for just as long, mainstream science dismissed it as mystical speculation. But now, the evidence is undeniable. Quantum physics is catching up to metaphysics. Let's start with the basics. At the quantum level, the level where atoms and subatomic particles operate, nothing behaves the way you were taught in school. Particles don't exist in one fixed place. They exist as possibilities, probabilities, waves of potential, until they are observed. This is the observer effect. When something is measured, when attention is applied, the wave collapses. The particle chooses a position. It becomes real, not before, but during. This means that consciousness is not separate from the experiment. It's part of it. The mere act of observation changes the outcome. And if that's true at the subatomic level, then what does that mean for you? It means that your attention isn't neutral. It's creative. It influences outcomes. It shapes the field. You're not watching life. You're helping to generate it. This aligns perfectly with what mystics have said for centuries. Energy flows where attention goes. The more you focus on something, especially with emotion, the more it begins to form into your lived experience. This is not vague attraction. It's energetic influence. Now let's talk about wave-particle duality. Light behaves as both a wave and a particle. Can be both forms, depending on how it's observed. Reality, in this sense, is not solid or consistent. It's flexible. And that flexibility depends on how consciousness interacts with it. This duality explains why two people can experience the same event in radically different ways. Their perception, rooted in frequency, literally reshapes the experience. The reality they collapse into form is different. It also explains why timelines seem to shift, why memory can feel unreliable, and why manifestation works faster when emotion is aligned. Because the quantum field holds infinite versions of every moment. You're not stuck with one timeline. You're selecting from many. And what determines your selection? Conscious attention, emotional coherence, and vibrational alignment. Let's bring in entanglement. Two particles that are entangled can affect each other instantly, even across great distances. That instant connection breaks the rules of time and space. There's no delay, no travel, just instant information exchange. Now apply that to consciousness. You think of someone and they text you. You feel an emotional shift, and something in your reality mirrors it within minutes. You sense a change coming, and it does. That's not intuition alone. That's quantum resonance. The field responds instantly to shifts in frequency, even when the cause isn't physically present. Your thoughts are not contained in your head. They ripple through the field. Your emotions are not private. They broadcast. Your frequency is not just personal. It's interactive. This is the foundation of manifestation. Not magical thinking, but quantum influence. When your internal state is in harmony with your intention, the field responds. The probability wave collapses into a matching outcome. And the more precise your coherence, the faster it happens. This is why inconsistent desires lead to inconsistent results. The field isn't punishing you. It's reflecting you. So how do you align with the science and the metaphysical? By living in coherence. By aligning your thoughts, emotions, and energy into a single focused direction. By holding that alignment with trust, not desperation. Quantum physics proves what the mystics always knew. Consciousness is not a side effect of reality. It is the source code. Next, we will take all of this and bring it into practical focus. You'll learn how to use tools, techniques, and simple shifts in your daily life to consciously move through the quantum shift you're already in, and do it with confidence. You're already in the shift. Now it's time to learn how to steer. The shift is no longer theoretical. You're living it. You've seen the signals, felt the symptoms, noticed time behaving differently, and watched your awareness expand beyond the ordinary. But now comes the most important part, learning to steer. You don't just go through a quantum shift, you grow through it. And that means taking conscious command of your energy, your attention, and your emotional state. Because while this transformation is automatic in many ways, the quality of your experience is determined by your participation. You are no longer a passive traveler. You're the navigator. So how do you move through this shift with clarity? How do you stabilize when everything seems to be changing? It starts with understanding that your inner state is your only compass. Not your calendar. Not your external circumstances. Your frequency. Your daily energy is no longer a byproduct of your life. It is the engine. Let's begin with grounding. The more you shift, the more important grounding becomes. This doesn't mean retreating into the old reality. It means anchoring your expanded awareness into physical form. Walking barefoot, deep breathing, intentional presence with your body, connecting with nature, eating high-vibration foods. These aren't just wellness tips. They're techniques to stabilize your frequency so you don't become energetically scattered. Next, meditation. not as a routine but as a recalibration. You're tuning your instrument, not to escape but to clarify. Even 5 minutes of intentional stillness shifts your brain waves, lowers cortisol, and resets your energetic field. During this time, focus less on silencing thought and more on becoming the observer of thought. That alone changes everything. Observation without judgment is mastery. Another tool, scripting. This is not wishful journaling. This is timeline alignment through written resonance. When you write as if your highest path is already unfolding, you create neural familiarity and energetic consistency. Don't just describe what you want, write how it feels to live it. Your subconscious reads emotion more than logic. It learns through repetition and frequency. Then comes clearing. As your vibration rises, old energies come to the surface. Triggers, fears, insecurities. These aren't obstacles, they're old programs being ejected. Let them move. Let them express. But don't get lost in them. Use tools like breathwork, sound healing, somatic shaking, or EFT tapping. These modalities help the body release stuck emotion without needing a story. Release is part of the recalibration process. Now let's talk boundaries. You are now more sensitive to energy, not fragile sensitive. That means you must protect your focus. Limit exposure to low vibration content. Step away from people who drain or confuse your energy. Be honest with your time. When you stop justifying your boundaries, your frequency holds more authority. And that authority is what reality responds to. Also, simplify. Complexity is a trap of the old paradigm. It scatters your signal. Clarity lives in simplicity. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need to stay aligned with the next best action from your current frequency. When that becomes a habit, momentum builds. Momentum becomes magnetism. And soon, your life reflects a new architecture. Another powerful technique? State shifting. The fastest way to alter your timeline is to shift your emotional state consciously. Music, movement, breath, laughter. These aren't just coping mechanisms, they are frequency resets. They interrupt the pattern. They loosen the timeline. When you shift state, you shift perception. When perception shifts, so does potential. Do not underestimate the power of small moments practiced consistently. Quantum shifts are not always about massive breakthroughs. Often, they are stabilized through tiny, repeated choices. Choosing presence over distraction. Choosing intuition over doubt. Choosing love over defense. These choices create energetic tracks. And those tracks become highways into entirely new versions of reality. And then there's trust. You're going to feel the unknown more often now, because you're entering timelines that don't carry your past conditioning. You won't have references. You won't have proof. That's not a flaw, that's confirmation. The less familiar the path feels, the more likely it's authentic. Let your alignment guide you. Let resonance be enough. Finally, understand that this process is not linear. You'll have days of clarity followed by moments of confusion. You'll feel expansion followed by emotional purging. That doesn't mean failure. It means integration. You're balancing. You're fine-tuning. And each wave teaches you something vital. Navigating the shift consciously doesn't mean controlling everything. It means responding with awareness. When you anchor into presence, care for your field, choose your thoughts, feel your emotions without fusing to them, and listen to your intuition, you are steering. You are choosing your timeline moment by moment. That's how mastery unfolds. Quietly, intentionally, powerfully. Next, we will look at the strange cracks in reality itself. You'll learn how to recognize real glitches in the matrix, those moments when the illusion falters and something entirely new breaks through. Have you ever seen something you can't explain? It may be evidence you're phasing into another dimension. There are moments that defy logic. You turn around and an object is gone. You hear someone call your name, but no one's there. You put something in one place only to find it somewhere else seconds later. Technology malfunctions for no reason. Time skips, events replay, and the air itself seems to ripple with something unseen. These are not hallucinations. These are not accidents. These are glitches in the matrix. Reality, as it's commonly understood, is assumed to be stable. But once you begin operating from a higher frequency, the stability becomes questionable. You start to witness moments where the veil slips, where the fabric of this simulation glitches. Let's define what a glitch is energetically. A glitch is a temporary distortion between overlapping frequencies. It's the moment your dominant vibration temporarily displaces you from your previous timeline, but your conscious mind hasn't caught up yet. These are not random errors. They are evidence of quantum instability between reality layers. One of the most common glitches, time skips. You check the clock. Minutes have vanished. You walk a short distance and suddenly hours have passed. Or the opposite, long stretches of activity occur within impossibly short time spans. This is not poor memory. This is the signature of nonlinear awareness intersecting with your linear body clock. Another form, object displacement. You place your keys on the table. Seconds later, they're gone. Then they're found in a place you never visited. No one touched them. No explanation. These events increase as your consciousness moves between subtle timelines. The laws of matter start responding to your energetic state, not physical expectation. Next, repeating encounters. You meet the same person in different contexts. A song follows you across locations. The same number shows up multiple times a day. These may seem like chance, but they're not. They're indicators that you're passing through a junction point in your path, a place where timelines are overlapping, and the field is showing you repetition as a signal. You may also experience technology disruptions, devices suddenly freezing, screens flickering, software behaving erratically when you're in heightened emotional states. This is not coincidence. The electromagnetic field around your body is interacting more strongly with physical systems. As your energy intensifies, it begins distorting nearby frequencies, and your tech picks up on it. These glitches are not mistakes. They are markers. They show you that reality is not fixed, that what you once believed to be immovable is actually pliable, that the rules of your environment are more flexible than you were taught. And most importantly, they reveal that you are the variable. You don't need to chase glitches, but you must recognize them. Because when you do, you move from confusion to confirmation. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start realizing, something else is beginning. These are the first cracks in the illusion, the evidence that your consciousness is pressing against the edges of the simulation. Many people try to explain these events away, to rationalize, to minimize, but deep down they know the logic doesn't hold. And that discomfort, that tension between what you feel and what you're told to believe, that's the pressure point of awakening. Lean into it. When reality breaks its own rules, you're being invited to question all the others. You're being asked to stop relying solely on the five senses and start trusting the sixth, your awareness. Because that's where the new framework emerges. Once you stop dismissing these moments, you start using them. You begin to anticipate them as signs of alignment. You hold your vibration steady instead of reacting. You track the patterns not as oddities but as clues. And each time the field flickers, you remind yourself, this isn't error, it's evidence. You are witnessing your own transition. The matrix isn't collapsing. Your perception of it is expanding. Next, we will bring it all together. You'll learn what to do with this awareness, how to step fully into your highest quantum potential and consciously become the version of yourself that your future is already waiting for. Now that you know you're in the shift, what will you choose to become? You've made it through the illusions. You've seen the glitches, the signs, the energetic symptoms, the shifts in time, the power of thought, emotion, and presence. And now, the real question arrives, quiet, but thunderous in meaning. What now? Because knowing about the shift isn't enough. Understanding the mechanics, the physics, the metaphysical truths, they mean nothing unless you claim the next phase of the process. Becoming, that's the next step. Becoming the version of you who no longer waits for proof, who no longer needs reassurance, who stops holding back and begins living as if the shift has already completed, because for you it has. Quantum potential doesn't wait. It responds. Every future version of yourself already exists. The empowered one, the healed one, the successful one, the creative one, the free one. not someday, now. But those versions don't activate until you choose to embody them, not just in mindset but in frequency. And that means showing up differently, not performing, not pretending, embodying. You begin to speak with clarity, not because you have all the answers, but because your voice no longer needs permission. You act with alignment not because you're certain of the outcome, but because the action feels like truth. You make decisions not out of fear of the past, but resonance with the future. You step into timelines not because they are proven but because they feel aligned. That is the essence of your quantum potential. Creating from internal reality, not reacting to external limitation. And here's the most important truth. Nothing external will confirm that you're ready. There will be no sign that says you've arrived. There will be no moment where you feel 100% certain before the leap. The confirmation comes after the shift, not before it. Because certainty is not a precondition. It's a product of embodiment. So what do you actually do now? First, stop waiting for old systems to recognize your evolution. They can't. They weren't built for this version of you. You've outgrown the rules, the roles, and the reference points. Trying to squeeze back into them will only cause confusion and contraction. Your responsibility now is to build from the inside out, frequency first, structure second. Next, commit to radical alignment. This means saying yes only when it feels like truth in your body. Saying no without explanation. Moving toward what expands you even when it's unfamiliar. Letting go of what contracts you even if it's still comfortable. These are not just moral choices. They are energetic ones. Each decision creates micromomentum in your field. Your field is your reality builder now. The more coherence it holds, the faster your timelines align. Coherence isn't perfection. It's integrity. When your thoughts, emotions, choices, and intentions align, your energy becomes non-contradictory, and that energy carves the path forward. You don't follow a path. You broadcast one. Quantum potential doesn't respond to effort. It responds to signal strength. The more aligned you are, the stronger your broadcast. That signal brings people, insights, synchronicities, and resources. Not by magic, but by magnetism. You become a point of attraction. But this doesn't mean passivity. It means precision. You act, but only from alignment. You speak, but only from authenticity. You listen, but only to what resonates. This is how new timelines become stable, through repeated conscious embodiment. Then comes the discipline of expansion. Not discipline in the old sense, grind, pressure, control. This is the discipline of not shrinking. The decision to not collapse back into familiar fear. To not reject your power when others feel uncomfortable. To not dilute your truth to remain digestible. The new you won't always be understood. That's part of the transition. You're operating on a different vibrational field. Some people won't match it. Some environments won't hold it. That's not your fault. And it's not your problem to fix. What's important is that you don't internalize resistance as rejection. Keep your field clear. Keep your heart open. But keep your focus sovereign. You are the new template. And that template, your energetic signature, ripples outward. You're not just shifting your own timeline. You're affecting others. Every time you hold your integrity, you make it easier for others to do the same. Every time you rise above the program, you weaken it for the collective. This is how real evolution spreads. Quietly, consistently, quantumly. And yes, the path ahead may still have friction. The world won't transform overnight, but you'll experience it differently. You'll navigate it with a calm center, a wider lens, and a deeper understanding of your place within the larger unfoldment. You'll stop asking, when will it get better? You'll start asking, what am I generating today? Because that's the final truth. Your life is not something that happens to you. It's something that emerges from you, moment by moment, thought by thought, emotion by emotion, choice by choice. The quantum shift is not a destination. It's an awareness. And once you hold it, you don't go back. You don't shrink into timelines that no longer fit. You don't pretend to be who you were. You create from who you've become. And who you've become is no longer confused, reactive, or waiting. Who you've become is clear, activated, aligned. The future is not written. It's broadcast. So tune your frequency. Speak your truth. Embody your signal. This isn't the beginning. This isn't the end. This is the shift. And you're already in it.